Hello, I'm Vince Joseph D. Doliente, and this is my scrapbook. Myanmar literature, the literature of Burma or Myanmar, spanned over a millennium. Burmese literature has historically influenced by Indian and Thai culture, as seen in many works such as the Ramayana. The Burmese language, unlike other Southeast Asian languages, adopted words primarily from Pali rather than from Sanskrit. In addition, Burmese literature tends to reflect local folklores and culture. Burmese literature has historically been a very important aspect of Burmese life, steeped in the Pali canon of Buddhism. Traditionally, Burmese children were educated by monks in monasteries in towns and villages. During British colonial rule, instruction was formalized and unified and often bilingual in both English and Burmese, known as Anglo-Vernacular. Burmese literature played a key role in disseminating nationalism among the Burmese during the colonial era, with the writers such as Takin Kodao Hiaming, an outspoken critic of British colonial in Burma. Different literature. Classical literature, first printing press, British Burma, post-independence literature, and censorship. Classical literature. The earliest form of Burmese literature were on stone engraving called kyuksa for memorial or special occasion such as building a temple or monastery. Later, palm leaves, called "pesa", were used as paper which resulted in the rounded form of Burmese alphabet. During the Bagan dynasty, King Anaurata adopted Theravada Buddhism as the state religion and brought many Pali texts from Ceylon. These texts were translated, but Pali remained the literary medium of the Burmese kingdom. Furthermore, Pali influenced Burmese language in structure because of literal translations of Pali texts called Nisaya. Earliest work of literature, Yakhaing Mintami Egin, or Cradle Song of the Princess of Arakan. Three primary literature. Maugon, form of Burmese poem which is often used to record a significant event meant to last. Agin, a form of literature, classic, classical poem addressed to a royal child extolling the glory of ancestor. Pyo, a Burmese form of poetry and was a major Burmese verse form from the 60s and 70s. First printing press. The arrival of first printing press in Burma in 1816, sent by the British Serampore Mission, helped to liberalize centuries-old tradition of writing in verse. Laylon Tapay, a poetry type or four syllables line and linked in a climbing rhyme and group into stanza of 30 lines. British Burma. When Burma became a colony of British India, Burmese literature continued to flourish even though the institution of Burmese monarchy, the leading patron of Burmese art and literature in the pre-colonial time, had been dismantled. English literature was still relatively inaccessible, although both English and Burmese in the curriculum called Anglo-Vernacular was now taught in school. Despite the fact that Burmese literature was entrenched in Burmese culture, the lack of patrons to support the literature slowed in further development. The colonial period marked a tremendous change in Burmese literature, which had once been patronized and innovated by members of royal court and was now being led by civilians such as university. Post-independence. After independence in 1948, Burmese literature developed further to adopt the assimilate Western style of writing. A year earlier, the Burmese Translation Society, a government-subsidized organization, was founded to translate foreign work, especially those related to the field of science and technology. Censorship. In 1971, the government formed a Burmese Literary Commission to develop Burmese literature further. On 5th July 1975, the Printer and Publisher Central Registration Board, the main censorship board of the Home Ministry, 4 years earlier, the board had been a part of Information Ministry, issued a statement to warn publishers of self-censor work, especially those criticizing a Burma socialist program, party, the government, pornography, writing, and libel, undermining the principle of freedom and expression. Notable worker Udo Uhala, Burmese journalist, publisher, chronicle, folklorist, and social reformer whose prolific writing include a considerable number of path-breaking non-fiction work. Next is Takin Kodaw Yaming, father of Burmese nationalist, political leader, and a literary genius. Next is Prince Tau Phaya Galay Ongzai, a Burmese prince, businessman, and politician. Next is Zaugi, was a distinguished and leading Burmese poet, author, literary, historian, critic, scholar, and academic. His name is Zaugi refers to a mythical wizard from Burmese mythology. Min Tu Woon was a Burmese poet, writer, and scholar who helped launch a new age literary movement called Kit San, means testing the times, in Burma. He is the father of Hitin Kyaw, President of Myanmar from 2016 to 2018. Next is James Lakyao, also known as Lakyao, was a Burmese pioneer, Burmese novelist, and author of the first Burmese novel titled Mong Yin Mong Mema Mamema. Burmese novels had existed before, but they were written in verse, not in prose. Most of these novels were based on Buddhism, myth and legend, and history of Burma. Therefore, there were no novels that were based on everyday life like Mao Yin Mong Mema Mamema. And here's the references. Thank you.